anytime somebody on your team comes to you with a problem, you want to not answer it. Instead, ask them what their 131 is. And they don't know this, so you're going to have to teach them. You're going to train them. What a crazy idea. And the one is, what's the one specific problem? Oftentimes, if somebody's coming to you kind of like hair on fire, there's 2 or 3 things going on. And I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody and you're like, think you're talking about this. And then they say, but then this happens. And you're like, whoa, what are we doing? So what's the one specific problem is the first part. Then what are your 3 viable options? Meaning, have you done any research on how to fix this?
Yep.
If the answer is no, how much time you need? Go do the research. Go online. Call some people. Like, you come back and let me know. And then the third is, what's the one recommendation? And every time I've done that, the philosophy I like to use, like the mental model or the frame, is I want to be an editor, not an author.
This is the Business of Advice podcast, where we help good advisors become great business owners.
We are back after the main stage. Dan Martell was just here. Awesome job, man.
Thanks, Cody.
Getting texts during the presentation saying this is incredible. So, hopefully everyone got a copy of this book, Buy Back Your Time. So we just want to dive in and ask some follow-up questions to that. So one of the things you talked about is just this principle of, as let's say an entrepreneur, obviously we speak to financial advisors who are entrepreneurs, but you want to spend as much time you can on the things that bring you energy and also the things that give you the best return on your time.
Money.
What's just the easy, practical way for someone to analyze where they're spending their time and how they shift that?
I mean, most people, I'll just call them, most people struggle with their finances, broke people, because they usually invest in things that distract them.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, stop spending money on things that distract you. Instead, invest in things. Rich people, the truth is, they invest in things that make the money. And that's why I always look at my calendar and I say, okay, what are things that take my energy or I don't want to do and that I could pay very little for? See, most people actually know those things. It's not identifying, the time or energy suckers and then even knowing what to do with that new time. It's literally the fear of letting go. That is, Cody, you know this. You work with people and it's just they just feel like nobody's going to do it as good as me.
Yep.
If I give it to somebody else, I'll have to do all the rework. And it's just, I grew up in that. That was literally my framework. And it got me a little bit of success, but it also created the ceiling. And for me, understanding how to buy back my time, how to get leverage, and just have more fun. Cody, at the end of the day, what's the point of having money if you don't use it to increase the quality of your life? And if you spend most of your time at work, spend the money. I'm a big fan of pimp your desk, buy the gizmos, enjoy yourself, stop doing things that are sucking your energy, and then go do the things that make you money.
You talked a little bit about that whole, I guess you'd say, mindset almost. What are some of the biggest obstacles you see people have to, you shared something about you don't check email, someone else checks that, right? What are some of the things you hear people say here's why I can't do that?
I've heard everything because I have a massive following online, and it's been fun to read the comments and see they challenge me. Well, that must be nice, or it must be good to be you, or it sounds easier than you explain it. I think it just comes down to a mindset of 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yep.
And think about it as expectations, right? For me to expect somebody else to ask somebody to do something for me, that's not me. That has no experience being me, has no context of my relationships or situation or know-how. For me to expect them to do it the way I would, it's delirious. It's kind of not cool because they're not you. And you forget all the books, the trainings, the seminars you've been to learn how to do that. And I'm always asking myself, can I go be better? Because here's the thing. 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome. And if that's not okay, go be better. That's the part I didn't write in the book. I should have added, because you literally, it's how can I lower my expectation but still get more done? It's because your quality of leadership, communication, creativity goes up to make up for the deficit. I don't care how talented you are. The person that's running, obviously there's a reason why they're running the company.
Yeah.
And at every level, there's some level of fatigue and creativity that just is not going to be there. You got to make the business so high performing that it can deal with that for you to actually grow.
What are some of the quick wins for people? Most entrepreneurs, what are the easy things that they can do
Running
to buy back
errands.
some time quick?
Literally, I study a lot of manufacturing. A lot of my concepts come from Six Sigma, lean manufacturing. If you just look at your pedometer, if you're running around a city, the concept of that, You don't. I don't leave. Like you think of a chef in a high-end restaurant, they got a thing called mise en place. It's I sit there, I do my thing. I do vegetables, I do proteins, and they actually don't want you to move that much because you're being inefficient. I think right off the bat, anything that's routing, anything that's errands, stop doing that. Use the apps, ask for help. The other one, 100% is administrative work. Processing first level passes and sorting through physical mail, your inbox, scheduling, that's a big one. And I mean, again, we have a world we live in with AI and tools that can automate a lot of this stuff, scheduling tools. And then for me, it's really just about like anything that's process oriented. Like if I'm going to do the same thing 15 times a week for the rest of my business career, I'm going to probably get that off my plate as soon as possible, especially if it's a template. That's where I think people should look. And then at home, like the home ones, don't clean your house. Like if you've got means, stop. Like somebody else can hit the go button on the washing machine. And then I think meal prep's an interesting one. Grocery shopping, that one for sure. Laundry, wash and fold, available in most major cities. And again, some of these are apps now. They're literally, it's a byproduct of being more efficient. So it's not even about outsourcing, it's out-tasking. And I think that concept needs to kind of grow in popularity.
One of our top advisors, he has this great line he always says. He said, if you have a problem in your business that you can write a check to solve, you don't have a problem in your business, right?
Yeah,
so
and
I think
go
it's
get
like
richer so you have
figuring
more
out
dollars
those things
to
where you can
solve,
do it. One of the things you talked a lot about, and we say this with advisors a lot, is like as you grow and scale the organization, eventually you get to a place where you're replacing yourself. So a lot of ours have gotten to a point where they were the advisor, they were meeting with the clients, right? They're doing the annual reviews with the clients, but then as they build that team, they're stepping out now acting as a CEO. This is probably a mindset thing a little bit too, but one of the biggest challenges I think most of them have is like, how do I retrain that client who's been so used to talking to me, seeing me, calling me anytime they have? Any advice just on it's almost a little bit of a culture shift because they're used to this expectation, how you shift that or change that?
I run into this a lot, especially when I coach people on the executive assistant role, because you're changing the agreement.
Yeah.
People have been emailing you forever, and all of a sudden you're changing it. And I watch people struggle with this, especially on like what to give your assistant, because there's two parts to this. There's the tactical part and then the reframe of expectations. So, if anybody's listening, they want my internal playbook. So I have a whole checklist, my executive SOP. Just find me on Instagram, message me EA, executive assistant, and I'll send them my Google Doc, no opt-in, no nothing. That'll give you the framework of what to let go of, which is going to create the pain you just said.
Yeah.
Okay? So Instagram, Dan Martell, find me, I'll send you that. The reframe has to be better. So I always say, here's what's happening. I want to make this better. Because of that, I've actually invested in higher caliber people. Literally, Bobby we just hired has been doing this longer than me. So like you have to figure out how to frame the new scenario as that so that they feel like they're getting an upgrade, not a downgrade.
Yeah. Because
like right off the bat, they're going to think they're getting a downgrade. And I did this I had a coaching company called SaaS Academy. I still own it, but over the last, I haven't been active in it in 2 years as a coach. But for a 3-year period, you gotta imagine people join for me.
You. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, every time there was less and less and less, but every time I did less, I added more. Anytime I did less, I overplayed the value that we were kind of highlighting. And the big idea is the concept of teaching people how to treat you. See, the problem, Cody, you've probably seen this, is you'll tell them and they'll say, oh, that's fine. That sounds great. Oh, congratulations. Yeah, no, I love watching you grow. And then tomorrow they're going to send you a text message.
Yeah.
The problem is actually holding the standard, meaning that if you then communicate and they email you directly when they should have emailed your account manager or their new person, you have to loop in and say, hey, Mary, I appreciate you reaching out, looping in Joe to help you. And I'll tell you, this is how I do it on text messages. That's the one most people get. Somebody texts me, I screenshot it, I loop in my assistant, I put them, I paste the text message screenshot in there, and I don't say anything. My assistant knows to reply right away, reference the person and say, appreciate you reaching out to Dan, I'm best to handle with this, I'll message you directly. You do that twice, you can't reply. Sounds crazy, but I'm talking like You got to create a new standard and own it, because if not, you're picking and choosing. The person you just brought in to help you out, they're confused. It's like, you said I was in charge. You told me these are my clients, but I know they're emailing you, and sometimes you're telling them something that's different than me. It's really about, once you do it, it's better, and then you're teaching people how to treat you, so don't treat them to kind of go behind the process.
Well, I like that. It's an upgrade, right? That you're
Always
positioning
an upgrade.
as that. I think the other thing, you didn't say this, but my mind went to almost like, this person's going to be a specialist and just focus on this aspect of our business so we can do a better job, serving you there too. The thing that I was getting, well, there were two things. I was getting some text messages backstage when you were presenting. One was the transactional versus transformational leadership. So a bunch of advisors were like, man, that was worth coming alone right there, right? You want to hit that just like real quick, high level?
Yeah. Nobody taught me. I built my first business. It was chaos, like massive chaos. 100-hour weeks, burnt out, overweight, no relationships. Family didn't even want to talk to me. I was just like horrible. And I didn't know any better. And the way I led back then was I hired people. I told them what to do, check what they did, tell them what to do next.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, it just sounds like that's what you do.
What a lot of people do.
Problem is, it's called the tell, check, next doom loop, because at about 12 employees or direct reports, you just can't wake up and do that for more people, which means you're always spending your time getting everybody else working instead of you doing the work you need to do to grow the business. Transformational, that's transactional leadership.
Yeah.
Transformational leadership is completely different. That's where we start with an outcome. Let's say a success criteria. You work here, you're a salesperson. The outcome we're going to achieve is this level of quota. This is the number we're going to measure. The second part, so that's number one, is outcome. Second is measure. So what are we going to measure to let you know on a daily basis, honestly, an hourly basis, if you're making progress? So we can just call it win rates. If you're a sales guy, you have conversations, did you get the deal?
Yep.
And then I'm going to coach you. So if every day I ask you as a new sales rep to message me your win rate, what percentage of conversation you have that turned into a deal, and it's 20%, 30%. I don't say a whole lot, but then it drops down to 10, 5. Now I coach.
Yeah.
And coaching is the part where I think it's different, where I say you want to train your team, not tell them. So train, don't tell. Train them around the missing, whatever part they're missing. Don't tell them what to do. Like, teach them the principle, coach them. Like a real coach runs the drills. They don't sit there and tell the player, move left, move. Like, they're not doing, like a coach doesn't tell the player how to play. They create the game and run them through drills and teach them the principles and the philosophies. And that's why I think the outcome, the measure, and the coach framework for transformational leadership, it allows you to scale, because if you do that after, a few months, those people, they're off to the races.
Yeah.
They don't need you anymore. If anything, it's an investment in your future team. And the best part, you're teaching your next level of leaders, because eventually they'll scale up with the business, how to lead their team.
What I think some of the texts were even like, I love the idea of just setting the outcome up front of, right? Like, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is
how
what
can I hit a target that I don't know what it looks like?
Yeah, that was good. The other one was the 1-3-1 principle, right? Our mutual friend Brad talks about that. And I'll say, I remember years and years ago, Brad saying something to me that was as simple as like, when they come in asking, you're like, don't answer the question. Like, now he's probably expanded it with the 1-3-1, right? But he's like, just say, like, what do you think we should do? And that alone was transformational. But hit just 1-3-1 real quick too.
Yeah, the big idea is that most business stalls because of the leader at the top. That's why it's called the bottleneck.
Yep.
So how do we combat that? Anytime somebody on your team comes to you with a problem, you want to not answer it. Instead, ask them what their 1-3-1 is. And they don't know this, so you're going to have to teach them. You're going to train them. What a crazy idea. And the one is, what's the one specific problem? Oftentimes, when somebody's coming to you kind of like hair on fire, there's 2 or 3 things going on. And I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody and you're like, think you're talking about this. And then they say, but then this happens. And you're like, whoa, what are we doing? So what's the one specific problem is the first part. Then what are your 3 viable options? Meaning, have you done any research on how to fix this?
Yep.
If the answer is no, how much time you need? Go do the research. Go online. Call some people. Like, you come back and let me know. And then the third is, what's the one recommendation? And every time I've done that, the philosophy I like to use, like the mental model or the frame, is I want to be an editor, not an author. See, if I tell people what to do, I'm the author of the solution. If they come to me with the 1-3-1, maybe they didn't consider the 4th option. I might offer it. Now I'm editing, and then I'm getting their buy-in, and then they help build the plan. As you know, if they If I build the plan, they'll fight the plan. If they build the plan, they honor the plan, because if I tell them what to do and it doesn't work, then it's my fault.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me what they're going to do. Then if it doesn't work, it's their fault.
Yep.
People take responsibility because they didn't know any better. Nobody taught them how to do this. And the 1-3-1 will push the biggest problems in your company down to the front line. And the beautiful part about that is the people at the front line have the most context to actually solve the problem.
Yeah, it's been, I know, transformational for me. Even just having them now, they're trained to come in and say, like, here's what we're dealing with, here's what we think we should do. Versus, it used to always be, what do you think we should do, right? And so just turning
you
that
hold
around,
the standard.
Yeah,
People buy your standards,
huge.
not your presence.
Yeah, it's good.
And you're setting it.
One of the themes here, one of the things we talked about, I said every leader of an organization should be studying AI and understanding how it works and how to leverage it. Any just thoughts or advice you have? I know that's a big topic, but just things that people should be thinking about there.
It's actually where I spend 70% of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So my background is in software, built and sold some tech companies. And over the last 3 years now, it was October 2022, I think, when ChatGPT kind of 3 came out, it was like, okay, this is like where we're going. And every one of my companies mandated integration, use it. And then my new Martell Ventures, I incubate AI first software technology for small businesses. Here's what I'm going to share, because I think it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of information. One of my philosophies for learning new things is to use my feed to feed my mind. So most people get on social media, their social media feed, and they just doom scroll.
Yep.
It's like mindless, right? And it's the funny this and the sports center that. And the cool part is the algorithm will actually get better based on what you want to see.
Yep.
So this is the trick. I'm going to tell everybody the secret to using your feed to feed your mind. Search the word AI on whatever platform. Go to your shorts, your reels, whatever that short form video is, and scroll and look through some of those. Click the comments and just go write anything in the comment. Write AI, write subscribe, write I'm here for more of this. You can write whatever. What that tells the algorithm is I want more of this. So you see a video, you like it, you leave a comment, and you will watch your feed evolve. You will know more about AI in the next 5 days than the AI experts, because you're going to be seeing the state of the art real time, the best of the best. How is it the best of the best? The algorithm knows what's the best. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I got to go to the AI conference. Oh, I got to talk to my buddy Rob, who's an AI expert. They got to call me. No. Use your feed to feed your mind. It's actually what I do. If you look at my social media feed on all platforms, it's a micro university of exposing myself to the state of the art and all the different things that are important to me.
Yeah, well, kind of a life hack for anything, right? We use it for AI, but anything you want to get better at.
Yep.
Great way to do that. Okay, last question I'm going to ask, and it's completely off topic of all those things that we've talked about. One of the things we've been on, I'll say last 2 years, me personally, but then have really been trying to instill it kind of through our advisors, our organization, entrepreneurs, and that is prioritizing their health.
Let's go.
Because it's been, and it's, dude, some of the stories are wild. We had one of our advisors went and did some of the testing we recommended, had 95% blockage, had open heart surgery, would have died in 2 years. You know, if he hadn't, I've seen kind of your transformation. You've talked a lot about that.
It's impressive,
so
yeah.
What any tips or just advice for entrepreneurs when it comes to their health and just some things that you've done that have been super beneficial?
I'll try to keep it short because it's a huge area of my life and passion. I probably helped 2,000 people at this point, like get absolutely shredded. First off is understanding that there's a thing called sarcopenia, which is the body's process of eating its own muscle the older you get. So when you get to 40, 45, your body starts this process. If you ever touch a elderly person in the arm, it feels like a milk
soft.
bag. That's what that is. So the more lean muscle you have, the higher quality of your life. Actually, it's another Bradism. Yeah. He says, I want to die young as late as possible. I don't want to be 80 and in a wheelchair, not moving around. I want to be movement. I want to be able to protect myself, like actually be strong. So here's the deal. Your micronutrients is how you feel. Your calories is how much you weigh, but your macronutrients is how you look. Most people do not know their macros for their body, for their goals. That's number one. Macros. Literally, we have a fridge in our office. It's the Martell macros. Like, we don't mess around because that is the instruction to the body for what the purpose is. The second part of that is understand a concept called progressive overload. right? And we do it in business. Like once I tell you what it is, you're like, yeah, that's life.
Yeah.
Progressive overload is saying that you're getting stronger. So strong can be either in volume for reps or in the weight itself. So every time I go to the gym and I track it, my trainer looks at it, we measure the weight and we measure the reps to give us volume. If you're not lifting heavier, you're gonna look the same. Lift the same, look the same. If you want lean muscle mass, progressive overload is the way to do it. And what you'll discover if you go down this rabbit hole that I went through, I mean, I did not look this way.
Yeah.
Okay. 11, 13 months ago. I was an Ironman athlete. I was in shape. I had the engine. I didn't have the body composition. And what I've discovered since then is it turns out a lot of the bodybuilders have known this forever. They say this, it's so funny. They go, you got to cut and then you got to grow. You got to cut and then you got to grow. You got to cut and then you grow so that eventually you'll be big and cut.
Yeah.
So what's funny is whatever somebody might have a hard time putting on weight, somebody might have a hard time losing weight, understanding how to dial your macros for both of those results and then understand the process of progressive overload training is for me, and I've done it all, CrossFit, Ironman, like all of it. It is the rhythm of existence. And the big idea, like why do it more than anything, exhaust the body, tame the mind. If I exhaust the body, progressive overload style, my mind is sharp. I'm able to pull vocabulary. I'm able to be present. And to me, the aesthetic features is a byproduct and a benefit secondary to making sure that I'm sharp.
That's good. And I know you share a bunch of stuff on social, so
It's
you
all
might
up
tell
there.
people how to follow you. I mean,
Yeah,
Dan
Martell on Instagram is my favorite. Just message me if you want like fitness stuff. Just message me fitness or my EA playbook. My YouTube though is where like we're at a million.
It's going crazy, man.
Last
Even
year.
since we first met, watching it.
Yeah,
blow
we've
up,
grown to 3 million followers across the social media
nutty.
platform in 18 months.
Yeah.
And the growth curve continued. 124 million views last month.
Well, I think some of that success, obviously you're putting out great content, but I think it's also so many entrepreneurs want this freedom and this
They're
enjoyment
hungry.
in their business.
They want it.
Yeah,
And they want somebody that's actually like, I'm never impressed with a guy that's ripped that has no kids.
Yeah.
Zero impressed. Like, come on, you're single, have no kids, and you're in shape. Duh.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the person that has a business, has a real family, and still shows up like they're serious about living a high quality life. And that's what I try to share on my socials.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Good to connect
honor.
again, man. So we enjoyed it.
Thanks so much, Cody.
Thank you.